And that's the thing is
Yeah.
they have been in control the entire time. They were in control in the beginning when they were mirroring you, love bombing you, sucking you in, pretending to be someone. And even when it was abusive, they were in control. Now, every time they became nice again, it was only to maintain or regain control every single time.
It takes an average between 4 to 7 times for someone to leave a toxic relationship. Today, Lisa, Sunny, and I talk about why narcissistically abused victims struggle to exit and stay out of toxic partnerships.
One of our toxic-free relationship club members keeps talking about how she's terrified of going back and feeling like she's at risk of that. And I know I see people constantly worried about going back. The average is like 4 to 7 times. Do you see that a lot, Kerry?
This is a super common problem. I went back once, and I think you did too, didn't you? In fact, you said you would have gone back had he not done something, but he kind of closed the door.
It's hard for me to actually gauge how many times I went back because I feel like I never really left. So I don't think it was really I left and went back. I left and we both attempted to go back and it never really took, thankfully.
I know that my ex was telling me that in his first marriage, the longest relationship that he had, I think I counted at least 4 times they broke up and got back together. So I know that he had this history of this repetitiveness with the women in his life. In fact, he left it with me. I remember he ended it with me saying, "Can we be friends?" And I thought, okay.
No.
First, like, why would I want to be friends with you? But I could tell that he was keeping that door open so that I've continued to feel a trauma bond, a connection with him. And I could see how he was keeping women on a hook so that he could cycle back through them again. Let's unpack why this happens and why we get so, I know why I got caught up in it, but I'd like to know why you see people get caught up in it and maybe what we see our clients get caught up in it.
For me specifically, I felt like I was abandoning him and there was this sense of I absolutely can't not have this relationship anymore. I need this family. I need this. And I was wrong, obviously. What I see commonly, guilt, abandonment, obviously trauma bonds. I think that kind of almost goes without saying. When you're trauma bonded, you just feel this strange pull. You feel desperate even to go back. But I think that attachment, because it mimics love, I see a lot of people like, but we're meant to be together and it wouldn't feel this hard if we weren't meant to be. Yeah, that's not true at all. But I get it. I really understand that. I felt it too, but it's a trauma bond. It's playing tricks on you.
Facts is something that you kept saying, and I've now seen it everywhere else. But it's one of the things you can't not see once you see it, but you don't see it while it's happening. And that is the positive person that you meant, the person that you've fell in love with, the person they continue to breadcrumb you with, the really wonderful self that occasionally shows up but gets less and less as you get further into a relationship. You really believe that potential. You really believe that you can get there again. And when you get out and they then position it as, oh, I saw the light. I've really been doing this hard work. I've missed you. With a real person with an authentic relationship and a desire for intimacy, that's accurate. They probably may have had that epiphany, but with these types of individuals, that's not what it means. It just means I'm bored, or I miss toying with you, or I need the gratification that you need me, so I'm going to circle back so that you can do that for me. But we don't see it. You called it manipulation. That's what it is. It's manipulation, but it looks like love. It looks like a bid for connection.
But it's loss of control. And that's the thing is they have been in control the entire time. They were in control in the beginning when they were mirroring you, love bombing you, sucking you in, pretending to be someone. And even when it was abusive, they were in control. Now, every time they became nice again, it was only to maintain or regain control every single time.
It's brutal. You synthesize it down to control. I hate that that's what you're saying, but I also know that it's true because I think that what we get so confused about is we'd say, well, doesn't everybody need belonging? Isn't this really a bid for connection? How can this person not want a connection? How can you just say it's control, not love, compassion, or intimacy? But it is really about connection. I've seen, and I'd love to know what you think, I think they see connection and intimacy as weakness, that it's pitiful, pathetic, disgusting, contemptible. Why would they ever reveal that side of themselves like that? So when you say control, I know most people are like, nah, it's not that simple, but it is. It is really just control.
I think it is. And I will say this about the way that I speak about this is that I know that it's not black and white, and I know that it's nuanced, and I know that there's a lot to this. But I think that the average person, we almost need it to be simplified so that it's just, this is what it is. Is it always only 100% about control? There's some pieces missing, but fundamentally, I am right. That is exactly what it is. They see connection as this vulnerable thing that could harm them. So they don't really want intimacy. So when you are not in the relationship anymore, they want back control. They want back the relationship. It could also be like the status, the double income, the access to their kids, access to sex, whatever. But it's fundamentally about them being able to maintain that control over you. But a lot of people think like, okay, fine, it's a trauma bond, but we're trauma bonded together. That's not how that works. They're very attached to the trauma bond, attached to your cycle and attached to you being attached to them, if that makes sense. But they're not trauma bonded. You're trauma bonded.
No. In fact, I see a trauma bond. I think the best way I see it, I'd like to know what you think of my analogy. It's like the old-fashioned day. I grew up in the days where we used to chain dogs out to a doghouse. Sorry, that's what they did in the 60s and 70s. I know nowadays we tend to have dogs on dog runs or backyards, but in the 60s and 70s, dogs were on a chain with the doghouse. And we like to think the chain is to both people, that we've been chained together. No, that's not how it works. They're the end post, and they have the chain that comes out from them, and they've hooked it to you. They can walk away and say, I'm not going to stay connected to you anymore. But it was never that they got hooked by it. They've never been hooked by it. They're the one that sets the hook and keeps the hook and then releases the hook on their end. So it's only a one-sided experience. These individuals do not sit there in agonizing pain over why you've not called them. They're not the ones worrying about whether or not you still love them at night. I mean, mine fell asleep in 2 seconds at night. We could have had the most agonizing, horrific argument about the latest cheating incident that I had just discovered, and he's snoring peacefully beside me 4 seconds later.
Sleeping like a baby. Absolutely. Because it's not upsetting.
No.
What's upsetting, though, when you see those big emotional reactions, right? They're like on the floor, on their knees, begging you not to leave, pleading with you, arguing with you, calling you names, or both. That's really complicated. But this plea to get you back, we're like, okay, they must really love me. He's fighting so hard for me. That makes it hard because you're telling yourself that they want you back because they love you, because that's the words. But why did it take you leaving for them to really start to get it? People think the answer is he had an epiphany. This is what it took for him to really hear me. Ask yourself why. What's changed? The only thing that's changed is the loss of control.
Yes, you're starting to heal. This is exactly what's happening right now to a member in a toxic free club. Exactly what's happening. Somehow she got wind that he has been going near her hometown, by the way. So right there, dog whistle, that's a dog whistle. I don't know if people know what that means. That means that is a hidden message, a trigger on purpose to upset somebody. He is letting her know that he's been cheating with somebody else. So the photos of this other person near her hometown. And how did he set the trigger? He set the trigger because she sends out an email campaign, and he's one of the first to open it every week she sends it out. And how does she know? Well, because she's got a list. And even though she keeps dropping him off, he adds another name that she knows by recognizing the email that it's him. He's on purpose setting a trap to let her know what he's up to create a curiosity in her. And then what happens to her, then it kicks off. Why wasn't I good enough? Should I have gone back? Should I reach out? And the minute you do that, then they're going to start to work on you to get you back in or to make you feel really, really bad. It could go either way, but this individual's been doing great. She has gone 2 months with no contact. She has never in her life gone that long, ever. This is because she's moving on, and he's never lost that kind of control before. So he set up this really elaborate plan to get her confused, to activate the trauma bond. Right now, I know because I've been in touch with her today, she's sobbing. She's home hysterically sobbing about this. And I know she's having deep regrets about why has he not chose me and what's wrong with me? And there's where they work in. They're like, oh, it is you. I do love you. I want back with you. This person doesn't mean anything to me. They're not like you. And there you go again. You're back off into another round.
Giving you all the things that they never wanted to give you when you were there. The timing is wildly strategic. But again, if we see it as an epiphany on their part, it stops us from really being able to see that this is an act of manipulation. And an abuser who's lost control will do anything. And if it's not working, if you're maintaining no contact and you're being all strong, they're going to ramp it up. And that only feeds into this they really want me thing. And what if I don't give him another chance and he's really changed this time? What if he changes and he's better to somebody else? What if this is exactly what was supposed to happen and you are supposed to maintain no contact? But we never take it that way. We always take it in the fear of, I should go back, or what if I just have one more conversation with him, right? Maybe it'll give me closure. You're not getting closure. You're going to get sucked back in so fast if you have that one final conversation that they beg for. That's just an opportunity.
Right. No, in fact, mine said to me, I know you want closure. Let's meet to talk about the closure. Because he knew the language and he used my language. We did meet. And you know what happened? There was not a mention of closure. In fact, when I circled back to ask him, I said, well, what about what you did? I don't know what you're talking about. I never said that. He gaslit me. And even the text he sent me, he gaslit me. No, I didn't say that. I didn't say I was going to do that. And people hearing my example about this member may say, well, why would he use something so negative as a way to pull her back? Why isn't he using what you just said, Lisa? Like, I've changed, I'm a better... No, because sometimes they know in us that we have an insecurity about if we're okay, if we're beautiful or lovely or choosable. And so they'll throw another example in front of our face for us to then want to compete with that individual and win. So I think that's what's happening in this case is it's not the, oh, I promise I'm different. It's more of, see, I'm with somebody else. Now make you question whether or not you are better than her or more significant than her. And for some of us, that really works effectively as a hook.
I've actually described narcissistic abuse sometimes as sort of bespoke abuse. It's customized just for you. That's why this whole all narcissists beg you back, all narcissists discard you. That's not all narcissists anything. They customize for you. They hit your triggers and your abandonment wounds, if that's what your wound is. And they will come for you with something that will hurt you specifically. That's why with my last attempt at reconciliation, he used, I want to get back together. I'm going to do therapy. I promise everything's going to be amazing. Let's meet up. Let's just have a conversation about what this is going to look like in terms of us getting back together. Because trust me, I know that we can't right now. I know that we need a few months apart. Let's meet. And we met. We had a nice lunch by the water, sat on a picnic bench, talked about our family and just how we're going to rebuild it all. And it was just this great conversation. We spent the whole afternoon and evening together. We were intimate. He had a girlfriend. He had someone behind my back. And 2 weeks later, the police called to advise me of that. Long story. But it was like, what? Why did you even do that? What was the point? But the point I know now was just to see if he could, just to suck me back in, just to get supply. And I think ultimately he would have wanted that to work out, but he just wanted everything. He wanted her, he wanted me, he wanted family, he wanted everything. And it's typical, but he can't have it all. So he got stuck with what he got stuck with.
Right. In fact, I got to see the back end of my ex's conversations because I happened to download the phone backup, which he gave me permission. But I got to actually unpack the way in which he was working multiple people at the same time. Got to see it. And it was customized. You're exactly right. Here he is seeing a young girl that maybe is barely legal. His current girlfriend, by the way, I was actually the one moving in. I didn't know that. He was already seeing another person, had a relationship. She had found out about this young girl, confronted him, called it child pornography. And he was having a fight with her about that, saying, oh no, this young girl it was all her fault. She did this to me. He's now on a date with me, so he blocks his girlfriend's number, so she can't text me. She texts him, is sobbing about why she can't get a hold of him, sends him a photo of the block that she knows she's been blocked. He then writes to her and says, oh, it was an error. I was just sick all weekend. No, he was with me. The games that they play is so sophisticated. Then the truth of the matter is we won't probably understand it all, nor should we want to. But the problem is that it worked with the young lady he was messing around with. It worked with the girlfriend, and I had no idea. I was clueless about it. And if I had not known more at the end, I would have been part of that, dyad, triad, whatever number of people he had going at the same time. He didn't change. It's just he was very good at giving the right scenario to the right person to keep that person on the line and on the hook. So the average number we set at the top was 4 to 7 times. I know that's astonishing. People are like, I can't believe that. But what I think people don't understand, maybe they're getting a better clue, is that because it's this confusing. And that's why you really do believe that they are working. I mean, mine was reading, highlighting books, going to therapy, having me watch movies together to talk about it looked like he was working. So when he came back, I'm really called treatment centers in front of me. It looked real. It looked real.
Same.
It's so confusing.
And if you can't see through that, I think, all the more reason, if you still feel confused, don't have that final conversation. Accept the best you're able, at least for now, that you're not going to get closure, or, tell yourself you'll get it later or something, but get yourself in a place where you're not open to one more conversation. Stay away. If you are, I've always felt like no contact is a catch-22, because if you're in a trauma bond, one of the best ways, the most effective ways, is to go no contact. But if you're in a trauma bond, you feel like you're going to die if you go no contact. So which comes first?
Yep.
Sadly, no contact is the best thing you can do. I'm not saying it's the one thing or it's the be all end all, but it definitely makes healing faster. I wouldn't say fast, but I think that not having that voice you're only dealing with your own voice and your own self-doubt. You're not letting them in to exacerbate that and give you, but I swear this time, please. It's crazy. I even think it's crazy how they can yell at you and put you down. And that still also makes you want to, I don't know, prove them wrong and go back. They're so good at getting to what is going to really trigger you. So you keep going back and the cycle never ends. So you have to just, it's hard. Now do it hard. It's going to be hard. Don't worry if it will be hard. It's going to be hard. Now do it.
It's hard. It's been compared to breaking a heroin addict. And we've actually talked to somebody who's had a heroin addiction and said, yes, it was harder to break. So we know that that's actually true by a real person sharing that. I know that people start to feel like failures when they come back. And I think there's another way to view returns. Okay, so the first time I went back, I didn't know. And I sure learned a lot, though. I learned that he was lying. I learned that he was extremely exploitative. I learned it was going to get worse faster the second time, that the good honeymoon phase ended extremely rapidly. And so those were some of my takeaways, is oh, okay, now you know this. This is what's going to happen. This is a pattern. Recognize a pattern here. So I see leaving as practicing, building a muscle. Do you see that as well? Because I know that you have clients who've returned. I know that. And we've even watched it with people who go to our retreats. We've watched them struggle to stay out. And I know that they end up feeling embarrassed and maybe they failed by talking to us, but we don't see it that way. We see this as a part of the healing.
I know this is really, really hard, but to me, I mean this. I see it as proof of your strength because you're getting stronger every time. It's like going to the gym. You're working out, you're doing your bicep curls, and you might drop one or you can't finish the set, but keep going and you're going to build that muscle. But I think what's key in every time you go back is to stop and say, what got me back? What did he say? What did he do? What was the thing that made it be that I went back? And you might identify things like guilt. He really preyed on my guilt or my sense of family or abandoning him, but figure it out. Have that conversation with yourself, with a friend, with a coach, with a therapist, somebody. Get that thought going, because that's the list of, let's say, your vulnerabilities. This is what I need to strengthen up so that I don't continue to go back. I believe his words. Okay, how can I shift and just start looking at his actions?
Right. I agree. I think that we have to have so much self-compassion, and they don't. They're not. And they're really pouring it on. And I know the gaslighting and the abuse gets worse and the risk of danger goes up. But if you can do the opposite to yourself, if you can see this as you practicing, not you failing. I know I've shared this before and I just really love it, that there was a journalist who put Thomas Edison on the spot and said, so you found 1,000 different ways to fail making a light bulb. He goes, no, I didn't. I found 1,000 different ways that light bulbs don't work. That's the way we need to view it. We need to not own the blame. We need to not own the shame and see this as, no, I now know a way that it didn't work. So now I'm going to look for a different way. Maybe you didn't go no contact before. Maybe you need to think about doing that this time. Maybe you need a different support system in your life. Maybe you didn't have the right people around to really cheerlead you on. Maybe you weren't ready. Maybe you really just weren't ready and weren't convinced it was over. That's where I was at. As much as I'd tell people and tell the public, yeah, I wanted the company back. I'll tell you honestly, Lisa, I was still in love with the guy. I wasn't really ready for it to be over. I knew that. I had people been working on me for more than a year, trying to just say no, just set a boundary. I wasn't ready. I just wasn't ready. And it's okay not to be ready. There's nothing wrong with that. This is love we're talking about.
Yeah, it's complicated, but it's, what is the expression? Progress, not perfection, or practice makes perfect. We're happy to tell kids and other people, keep trying. But when it's ourselves, we're like, you stupid woman, what's wrong with you? But it's not about intelligence. It's not about strength. I mean, there's a lot of chemical stuff going on.
Yeah.
There's addiction-like feelings going on. If it's a trauma bond, I know it's not true for everyone, but when it is, there's so many feelings. Just if your friend was like, man, I'm really struggling, you wouldn't be like, well, suck it up, Sally. You just wouldn't say that. So why to yourself?
Yeah, I know. And I think that that's the other thing, is to see that this is a sign of persistence and perseverance. And that all speaks to your character, and it speaks to the fact that you're a committed person who has integrity, and this is going to take some work. It does take work. It really does. I mean, like you said, there's so many pieces to this. It's complicated. And I do agree that when we first get out, I had never felt more disoriented and discombobulated than I did when I first got out. I was in agonizing pain. I mean, and I poured through social media. I poured through the backups of his phone. I did everything that I could to sort of try to keep the connection. And I was writing about it. And that writing about it was another way for me to keep the connection, really. I mean, if you want to think about it that way. But I didn't beat myself up for that. And I see a lot of people get super critical. Like, there's a right way to do this. No, there's not. There's your way. It's going to be messy as hell, but it's going to be your way.
There's no fast way to.
No, there's no fast way.
I swear, what's the fastest way to break a trauma bond? And I'm like, let's back up. Let's back up. I hear you. I mean, I'm with you on the desire. Like, of course you want the fastest way. If I had that trick, I swear I'd just give it away for free. I would want us all
We'd be
to
millionaires there, Lisa.
right? But I would want people to have the fastest way. I will say the fastest way, which is not fast, is focusing. That's it. It's find the issues, find the vulnerabilities, work through them. If you have the privilege of coaching or therapy, do it. Get yourself into support groups. Go on retreats, like do what you need to do to heal and learn about yourself. Learn what got you here. Try and keep at it. Don't give up. Don't be hard on yourself.
I think that's the other thing is, and know that there's going to be 3-step forward, 2-step back days. Sometimes it'll be actually 2-step forwards and 3-step back days. You're going to have those days as well. I certainly did. You did. We all do.
Yeah.
I see so many victims take an all or nothing attitude. It's like, I did really bad today. I'm bad. It's done. I
keep going back. I can never leave him. Keep going. It's like chutes and ladders. It's a game of chutes and ladders. You're up and then you're down and then you're up. You might win in the end. Just wait. You'll get there.
Yeah. It really is like chutes and ladders. You're right. I mean, you think you're getting ahead and you think you're almost made it to the top of the board and you hit that slide that takes you all the way to the bottom. But you just keep working at it. And every time that you do that, you're going to get further. You're going to learn some things. You're going to learn more about yourself. You're going to get stronger. You're going to discover new aspects of yourself. You're going to know what doesn't work, which is like Edison said, now I know 1,000 different ways it doesn't work. You're going to learn what doesn't work. Because here's the thing. You really want to synthesize it down to the essential core, Lisa. This is about you. This is about me. This is about you, your value, your humanity, you as a person, your worth. You're worth it. You're worth way more than that toxic person's place of value on that, which is never anything. Like I said, they treat you like you're a nugget of gold, but the whole time, in their opinion, you've been nothing more than a piece of shit. You're worth more. That's why you're worth this fight.
Do it for you.
Exactly. It takes 7 times. It takes 70 times. Who cares? You're worth it. You're worth it. So we've had fan mail, Lisa, and we promised we're going to get better at this. And we had several that actually came in today. One is a counselor from Texas said that the staggering amount of her practice has been people who've been married to some form of a cluster B personality disorder, and that she really appreciated the podcast and just made a point of emphasizing the degree that narcissist and toxic people have enough empathy to show up the way that we want in order to manipulate us and exploit us into getting what they want. And I just really appreciated that. So thank you so much, Debbie from Houston, letting us know that, because, that's what we say here all the time. I really appreciate that. Another wanted to know if this is a real outlet for support, and this is from Tulsa, Oklahoma. So would you address that again? Because I feel bad when people think this is a live line, but it isn't. So I wonder if you can that.
So people can send us comments and questions, and we're not able to respond in the context of, a text response, but we are able to respond here. But in terms of real support, there's lots of different options, even just that Dr. Kerry and I offer. So we have a toxic-free relationship club that you can join, and you get 24/7 support. And depending on the level, you get group coaching, monthly book club, all kinds of things, one-on-one sessions. With all the levels, you get tons of support. We also have different group coaching program offerings, such as Healing Strong, which is geared more towards people who are already out. or the Trauma Bond Recovery group coaching, which is geared towards people who are in or out of a relationship, but actively trauma bonded. And we also have in-person retreats that we host. And the next one is coming up in February in Mexico. And then we have another one in October in Florida. And that's at wellnessrecoveryretreats.com. So there's lots of different options. You can also work with me one-on-one on a private basis. But there's also like free Facebook groups and lots of different options for people to really get that personalized support, whatever it is that you need.
Right. Yeah. Thank you for that. So we're going to hop over to the podcast extra. And Lisa, let's talk about how to practically get more ready to lead based upon a previous effort that didn't take. Let's talk about that so people can see the way to do this if they're feeling like they just are failing at this so badly. So thank you so much for this great topic. I really appreciate it. Well, that's a wrap for this week's episode. Are you following me on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube? Find me at Kerry McAvoy, Ph.D. And whether you're in, consider leaving, or have left a narcissistic relationship, find community support at my Toxic Free Relationship Club. You can learn about this resource as well as others at kerrymcavoyphd.com. Now you don't need to wait a week to get your next podcast fix. Join Breaking Free from Narc Abuse at substack.com to get exclusive audio content for subscribers. To sign up, click the link in the show notes. And I'll see you back here next week.